The movie kicks off with Taek-il, an 18-year-old rebel living in Seoul, struggling to fire up a beat-up motorcycle he bought online. His best friend, Sangpil, stands by as Taek-il repeatedly kicks the starter, desperate for the engine to finally turn over. Eventually, the bike roars to life, and the two friends set off, hoping for a quick escape from their stifling lives. As they're riding uphill, the old motorcycle suddenly stalls out, leaving them stranded on the side of the road. While Taek-il tries to get it running again, another biker speeds past and intentionally kicks off his side mirror before disappearing down the road. Enraged, Taek-il gives chase, but his luck runs out when they hit a traffic jam and his brakes fail, leading to a violent crash. At the police station, Taek-il's mother, Jong-hae, shows up to pick them up. Instead of asking if he's hurt, she immediately slaps him across the face, frustrated by his constant defiance. She demands to know why he's skipping school and wasting his life, but Taek-il snaps back, claiming he's tired of being treated this way and just wants to do what he actually enjoys. Jong-hae, a former professional volleyball player who hasn't lost her strength, slaps him again, sending him straight to the floor. The next morning, Taek-il decides he's had enough and tells Sangpil he's leaving Seoul, even joking about running away to a deserted island. Despite Sangpil's suggestion that they stay and try to find real jobs, Taek-il's mind is made up. At the bus terminal, Taek-il asks for a ticket to any destination that costs under $10. When the clerk insists he pick a specific spot, he quickly chooses Gounan just to keep the line moving. Upon arriving in the quiet coastal town, he immediately feels like a fish out of water and accidentally bumps into a girl with bright pink hair named Kyung-ju. When Taek-il stares at her, Kyung-ju confronts him, and the brief exchange ends with her punching him in the stomach before walking away. Hungry and nearly broke, Taek-il finds a small, weathered Chinese restaurant selling black bean noodles for $3. As he eats, he notices a short-haired chef named Giosak, who seems to radiate an unusual and intimidating energy. After spending a night at a public sauna, Taek-il returns to the restaurant and sees a help-wanted sign for a delivery driver. The job offers both food and a place to stay, which is exactly what he needs to avoid heading back home. He meets the owner, Boss Kong, who correctly guesses that Taek-il is a runaway but decides to hire him on the spot anyway. Inside the kitchen, Taek-il officially meets the head chef, Giosak, and the tension between them is immediate. They trade insults, and when Taek-il refuses to back down, the situation quickly turns into a physical fight. Taek-il is no match for the massive chef, who beats him easily until he passes out cold. While Taek-il begins his new life in Gounan, his friend Sangpil remains in Seoul, feeling the weight of his own responsibilities. Sangpil lives with his grandmother, who suffers from dementia and spends her nights peeling chestnuts in the dark to save on the electric bill. Heartbroken by her struggle, Sangpil vows to earn enough money so she no longer has to work another day in her life. Seeking a quick way to make a living, Sangpil reaches out to an acquaintance named Dong Hwa, who offers him a job in a private loan business. At first, Sangpil believes the work will be easy and peaceful, expecting to make a lot of money with minimal effort. He begins accompanying Dong Hwa to collect debts, fully convinced that the business is entirely legal and straightforward. Back in Gounan, Taek-il wakes up in the restaurant's dorm after the beating he took from the chef. He slowly begins to adapt to the daily grind of the kitchen alongside his roommates, though the environment is far from friendly. He and the other staff members argue constantly, often trading insults about each other's looks and hairstyles. Another confrontation with Giosak leads to a second fight, which the chef wins effortlessly while casually dancing, further bruising Taek-il's ego. Despite the friction, Taek-il starts his delivery rounds the following day. During one of his runs, he happens to deliver noodles to Kyung-ju, the pink-haired girl who punched him earlier. Taek-il attempts to confront her, claiming he still needs to get revenge for the previous encounter. The argument turns physical once again, and despite his confidence, Kyung-ju beats him badly, leaving him unconscious. He wakes up alone in the evening next to an empty bowl of noodles, forced to return to the restaurant covered in bruises. Upon his return, Boss Kong gives him some medicine for his face but informs him that he won't be paid for the day because he disappeared during work hours. His coworkers find the whole thing hilarious, laughing at the fact that he was taken down by a girl. Meanwhile, Sangpil calls to check in and mentions seeing Taek-il's mother meeting with a store owner back in Seoul. Taekil brushes off the news, telling Sangpul not to bother him with small details, but secretly he is worried. He even types out a message to his mother but deletes it before sending, unable to bridge the gap between them. That night, Giosak asks if he misses her, but Taekil insists that staying away is better since she only ever complains. Giosak simply sighs, telling the young man that he doesn't truly understand his own mother yet. Later, Taekil goes to the rooftop to smoke and finds the other delivery worker, Gounan, practicing his frying skills. Gounan reveals his dream of becoming a chef, and for a brief moment, the three roommates sit together in a rare instance of quiet camaraderie. While Taekil and Gounan are bonding on the rooftop, Kyung-ju returns home only to find that her roommates have brought strange men back without her permission. She demands that the men leave, sparking a heated argument that quickly escalates into a violent confrontation. Although she manages to knock one man down, she is eventually overpowered and repeatedly kicked, forcing her to flee the house. Kyung-ju runs across the rooftop area where Taekil and his roommates are hanging out. Instinctively, Taekil begins chasing her without fully understanding why she is running, eventually witnessing the two men attempting to force her into a car. Taekil shouts for his roommates to help, and the resulting noise draws enough attention from the neighbors that the men decide to ditch the scene. After the men leave, Kyung-ju retreats into the noodle shop to clean her injuries. Seeing her barefoot and hurt, Taekil quietly hands her his own shoes, an act of kindness for which she quietly thanks him. As time passes, the two begin to form an unspoken bond. When Taekil delivers noodles to her again, he decides not to charge her and pays for the food out of his own pocket. Back in Seoul, life is moving forward for their families as well. Taekil's mother, Jong-hae, has taken a significant risk by opening a small shop where she sells toast to earn a living. Meanwhile, Sangpul appears to be doing well in the debt collection business, earning enough money to take his grandmother out for meals and shopping. However, the dark nature of his work remains hidden from him for now. Taekil eventually receives his very first paycheck from the restaurant and feels a surge of pride. To celebrate, he treats the entire staff to dinner and drinks, marking a real shift in his relationship with his coworkers. During the meal, Boss Kong suggests that it is finally time for Taekil to visit his mother, but the young man stubbornly refuses, claiming they will only end up fighting. Giosak, listening to the argument, lashes out with a harsh truth, telling Taekil that if he won't visit her now, he should just wait for her funeral. He punches Taekil again, warning him to wake up because not everyone is lucky enough to have a mother who still cares. This reality check stays with Taekil, especially as he later discovers that his mother has been cooking meals for him every single day since he left, even though he hasn't been there to eat them. In the city, Sangpul's job takes a darker turn when he and Don Hua go to collect a debt from a panicked shop owner. The man is so desperate that he tries to flee, jumping from a ledge and injuring himself in the process. He begs for more time, claiming he cannot pay, and Sangpul gives him until the end of the month, still believing that his work is simply a matter of collecting what is legally owed. Taekil eventually decides to return home to visit his mother. Upon entering the house, he is moved to find that she has continued to cook his meals every single day, leaving them out for him even though he hasn't been there to eat them. Later, he meets up with Sangpul, who tries to recruit him into the debt collection business by promising much higher earnings. Taekil flatly refuses, labeling the job as loan shark work and warning his friend that it isn't a path they should take. When Taekil visits his mother's new toast shop, the meeting is predictably tense. Jong-hae is angry but clearly relieved to see him, urging him to come home and return to school so she can support him. Taekil remains defiant, insisting that he can take care of himself and that school is not in his future. Before heading back to Gunsan, he hands her his very first paycheck, telling her to use the money to do what she truly wants in life.
잘 말씀드리고 왔나요?
Back in the city, Sangpul's situation spirals out of control. Dong Hua orders him to collect a debt on his own, leading to a violent confrontation at a butcher's shop where the owner loses his temper. Sangpul is brutally beaten in the ensuing fight and ends up in the hospital.
제가 왜 맞은 건지 모르겠어요. 빌려준 돈만 받으러 간 거잖아요. 또 왜 맞아야 되는 거예요?
It is during this time that he finally learns the grim reality of his employer. The company isn't just collecting debts, they are charging 5 times the original amount in illegal extortion. Meanwhile, in Gounan, Kyung-ju begins working at the noodle shop as a server. Boss Kong provides her with a small private room that once belonged to his late daughter, giving her a safe place to stay. To celebrate her first day of work, the group heads to a karaoke bar, but the night takes a dark turn on the way back. Taek-il recognizes a van driver as the man who fought with Kyung-ju and caused his own motorcycle accident weeks earlier. Taek-il confronts the man, but the encounter quickly turns violent, and Taek-il is beaten once again. Giosak intervenes, throwing food scraps into the attacker's face to create enough confusion so the group can escape back to the safety of the restaurant. That night, a battered Sangpul calls Taek-il from the city to describe his injuries. Taek-il, deeply concerned, urges his friend to quit the debt business immediately and live a peaceful life with his grandmother. The peace at the Chinese restaurant is shattered when trouble arrives in the form of a gang. The men, led by the same individual who had harassed Kyung-ju, storm into the shop and begin trashing the place while beating Taek-il and the other staff members. During the violent chaos, an urn containing the ashes of Boss Kong's late daughter is knocked over and shatters on the floor. This sight causes Giosak to lose his legendary temper, and he reveals his hidden combat skills by taking down the gangsters one by one with ease. The police eventually arrive and arrest the attackers, who were already wanted for other crimes. In the aftermath, the group begins the somber task of cleaning up the wreckage, while a flashback reveals Giosak's dark secret. He was once a high-ranking and feared gangster. After the death of Boss Kong's daughter, Giosak had helped the grieving man find a new reason to live, and together they opened a restaurant to leave their violent past behind. Meanwhile, back in Seoul, Sangpul finally visits the leaders of the debt company to tell them he wants to quit. He admits he is terrified and no longer wants to be part of their illegal operations, but the boss coldly informs him that leaving is not that simple. The following morning, several black sedans pull up to the restaurant in Gounan as a gang leader arrives to see Giosak. The leader pressures Giosak to return to the criminal underworld, arguing that being a chef doesn't suit a man of his talents. To protect Boss Kong and the others from further trouble, Giosak quietly agrees to leave with them, despite the staff's reluctance to see him go.
나도 같이 가면 안 돼?
As the restaurant closes for a week of repairs, Taek-il takes a walk with Kyung-ju, who reveals she has no parents and nowhere else to go. She confesses that she envies Taek-il for still having a family, a realization that weighs heavily on him. Soon after, Taek-il receives an urgent call from Sangpul, warning him that his mother's toast shop is scheduled to be demolished the very next day. Taek-il rushes back to Seoul and heads straight to his mother's toast stand to find out what is going on. Jeong-hae avoids his questions and tries to maintain a sense of normalcy by offering to make toast for Kyung-ju. Taek-il pleads with her to ask him for help when things are difficult, but she tells them both to leave. Kyung-ju suggests reporting the demolition to the police, but since the stand was never officially registered, they find themselves without any legal protection. The situation becomes even more dangerous when the loan sharks arrive at the shop to harass Jeong-hae. Taek-il calls Giosak for help, but the chef is caught in his own conflict and cannot come. Instead, Giosak tells Taek-il that he must find the courage to fight bravely and protect the things that truly matter to him. At that same moment, Giosak is facing off against a rival gang, eventually deciding he is finished with that life after one final, brutal fight. Back at the toast shop, it is revealed that Jeong-hae borrowed money from the illegal company to start her business and is now being forced to pay back 5 times the original amount. When Taek-il sees Sangpul at the scene, he mistakenly assumes his friend persuaded his mother to take the loan, leading to a heated argument. In the chaos, the loan sharks snatch the envelope containing Taek-il's first paycheck. Jeong-hae attempts to grab the money back, and the confrontation turns physical. Taek-il finally steps up, admitting his mother only took the risk because of him and telling the loan sharks to stop harassing her, but the criminals walk away coldly. Finally reaching his breaking point, Sangpul attacks the boss with a carton of milk, and in the ensuing struggle, Jeong-hae uses her former volleyball strength to knock a loan shark to the ground with a single slap and reclaim her son's money. Despite their stand, the shop is demolished the next morning, and all of Jeong-hae's hard work is leveled in a single day. They lose their house deposit to settle the remaining debt and are forced to move out. Even though they have lost almost everything, Jeong-hae tells Taek-il that she is happy simply because he is back by her side. They eventually move into Sangpul's grandmother's house, which is small but filled with a warmth and safety they hadn't felt in a long time. In the aftermath, life begins to find a new rhythm. Sangpul learns that his former associate, Dong-hwa, has also quit the debt business to start a fried chicken shop. In Gounan, the restaurant reopens and returns to normal, with Giosak back in the kitchen teaching Gounan how to cook. Boss Kong officially adopts Kyung-ju, giving her the family she never had and sending her back to school. Taek-il and his mother finally reach a place of understanding, as he realizes she was never fighting against him, but always fighting for him.